Hey everybody, how's it going? So CBC apparently did this piece on buying a phone or a laptop, and every other comment I've been getting is asking what I thought of it, so I figured we'd watch it together and let's get an idea. So I just put my headphones on so we don't have double audio here, and we'll get to listening.
People versus the tech giants.
This phone is worth nothing.
Top brands side by side.
Unfortunately, there was much I could do.
Both the garbage.
Over 3,000 Canadians share repair nightmares. Which brand and device breaks down the most?
$1,300 for a phone is ridiculous.
And how to get the
I
deal
agree,
you deserve.
but people keep buying them.
This is your marketplace.
Is a $1,300 phone ridiculous if people keep paying for them, is the real question.
We're setting up a tech repair clinic to try to fix all those broken down devices you depend on.
I was trying to charge it up, and it just failed to charge.
It just doesn't boot. It won't even turn on.
When you open it up and try and start it up, it turns gray and has funky red stripes
2011
on it.
MacBook Pro over there.
Phones, laptops, tablets. We're revealing the truth about nearly every top brand.
I've got a Samsung cell phone as well as an Acer laptop.
I think it was about $1,500.
About $1,500.
And plus this cost me another $100.
You got a whole pile of things there.
I do, David, I do.
While we put these three repair pros to the test, we're testing the tech
He didn't bring a
giants.
Zalmau for the
With a one-of-a-kind
2011
national
MacBook Pro.
survey. We're asking more than 3,000 Canadians to share their stories, revealing which brands break down more than others.
You got Acer and HP in there, so there's a lot of breaking.
They market
Acer
slick
and HP are
products,
mostly shit.
make big promises like oops resistance, and claim long battery life. But do they deliver? How long should they last?
Powerful and efficient.
It really is the most annoying issue to deal with.
And to get the inside scoop on whether our favorite device makers may be stiffing us, we're calling in a consumer rights hero. Only hiccup? The border is closed. But that's not going to stop us. We're in Canada, but that's the U.S. because the
That's
fight
border security
against
in
the
Canada?
multi-trillion-dollar
Really?
tech giants, the biggest fighter, she's an American. First up, though, is our survey on smartphones. Top sellers going head-to-head. It's Apple versus Samsung.
I've always been a Samsung guy. The Samsung S20 phone, when I got it out of the package, it started experiencing problems.
We're starting in Bracebridge, Ontario, with roofer Jason Bolduc.
The problem I had with it was that
I don't believe this guy because he's doing this thing that a lot of my customers do where he says this, and then he pretends to do that, and that's usually what my own customers are telling me when they're not telling the truth. So this is a little strange. So something's going to be up here.
the moment I started it up, it was the excessive boot time, which was really strange. It started dropping media calls. The phone got excessively hot.
So hot, Jason says, the screen cracked.
Oh, come on. Okay, to be clear, I want to be 100% fair here. If someone says like my iPhone cracked on any time someone says this cracked on its own, like 99.9999999% of the time, they did it, and they're gonna come up with some crazy backstory that led to the crack on its own. That's completely full of shit. And like anybody that owns a phone repair shop has been there. Now again, it's one thing if this is back in the iPhone 4 days and you didn't remove all of the glass when you from the old screen while you were fixing it. Maybe you left the old adhesive. I used to scrape under the old adhesive and put a new set on, then put the screen on. But if you didn't remove all of the, if you kept the old adhesive there and just picked out the glass, there's a chance a little piece of glass is there. The phone screen is now pushed in and screwed it in on top of the glass, and now any little nook or cranny is gonna crack it. But like, this is someone. Come on, man! Like someone dropped this. So.
You outside in the blazing sun?
No.
He's now having to keep his phone out of the heat. A roofer who can't take his phone on the roof. Not answering calls from potential customers.
How much is it worth to you right now?
This phone is worth nothing.
Here's the thing. Our survey says Jason is like most of us. Almost 3 out of 4 have had at least one device break down in just the past 5 years. And here's a stunner. 65% have had multiple device breakdowns in that time.
The last one is the most difficult. For a 2-year-old iPhone?
It is also giving us this blue screen, the blue screen of death, I guess, basically.
I have an iPhone XR,
Yep.
and the screen is all cracked.
Let me guess, that happened on its own too.
Yeah, I can come up and take a look.
Lots of repair nightmares, but wait for it. Jason's Samsung S20 Plus 5G is only 2 weeks old, still under warranty and a 15-day return policy.
Not under warranty when you crack it, motherfucker.
But both Samsung and the store refused to take it back
Of course they did, because you fucking broke it.
and say these problems are all Jason's fault.
Just within days of getting it.
This is within less than 24 hours of getting the phone.
Wow. How much that phone cost?
This phone is a $1,800 phone.
That's a lot of money. In our survey, there are 563 reports about Samsung phones.
You mind if we come with you to tell us?
For sure.
Jason is going to the store where he bought.
I want to be clear. There's a probability that I'm wrong, and this really is some sort of 1 in 1 million phone that wasn't booting properly and then majestically cracked on its own. But like anybody from Reddit r/mobile repair, you've had this happen before where you sell a device to someone and they come back to you and say it cracked on its own. It is the most horrifically aggravating thing in the world because you know from the moment you hear that, you know what the conversation's going to be like for the next half hour, and you know that you're not going to get that person out of there immediately. You just know you're in for 30 minutes of an emotionally draining conversation where you're going to piss someone off unless you make a decision to fully refund them or for something that you didn't do. And it's just like,
Bought his phone less than 2 weeks ago. While he's seeking a resolution for his Samsung, we want to know how his experience stacks up to Apple.
Apple, to be clear, is going to do the exact same thing that Samsung would do in this case, which is going to be the exact same thing as virtually every other manufacturer. Okay, maybe you could say that because the phone is so expensive and they have such a markup on it, that maybe they could afford to be nice when you screw it up on your own. But I would expect Apple to do the same thing for if you broke the device on your own. And again, here's the thing with our store, and this is the thing that drives us nuts. If someone just shows up and says, like, man, I fucked up. I can't afford this. I couldn't afford to get it fixed the first time. I got work to do, and I know the screen is expensive. I fucked up. There are times where Steve has given someone a replacement for less than our part cost, or I've said, you know, I need this section of the basement cleaned or whatever. Help me out and I'll do it for free. And then someone else at the store will look at me and say, why are you doing that? You're losing $200 or $300 or $400 if it's a Retina MacBook Pro screen like $420 or something. And it's because I feel bad. But I lose all that sympathy when there is this long, drawn-out story that I know has nothing to do with how it cracked, and you're presenting it to me as if I'm that stupid. It's like, just tell them the truth. Just say it. Sometimes they might actually feel bad for you. But, like...
Please enter your PIN, followed by the pound key.
Ricardo Borgia owns a 3-year-old iPhone 7, but the audio only works if it's connected to Bluetooth.
Okay, never mind. That's actually real. So this isn't the... Again, I'm not trying to be biased here. The Samsung, that was a crack. That's different. The iPhone 7 has an issue with the audio IC, where the audio IC will just start to become decoupled from the board because the phone board flexes in that area. So it does, and then eventually it winds up cracking. It's the exact same thing that happens on the iPhone 6 Plus with the Touch IC, just on the iPhone 7. So this is actually a known defect, and Apple will usually give you the runaround. Now, what you do when you have this defect is Apple has Apple has a repair program for this phone, but for something else. They have a repair program for the baseband. That's for you not getting any signal. So what you do when you have this issue, you don't go to the Apple store and say, my audio's not working. You go to the Apple store and say, it's telling me no service every now and then randomly. The reason you do that is because both of these issues arise from the phone board flexing in the case. But only one of those issues is covered under warranty. Your phone is still bending in the case for the audio IC guy as well as for the person who has no service, but Apple's only covering the no service to be sneaky.
Right now I'm listening through my car, and I would be talking through the microphone of my car, so this is a pretty expensive headset.
Welcome.
Plus, the battery drains really fast.
That's
I'm going
normal.
to a repair shop for my phones. I went to Apple, and now I wanted to get a third.
The battery on an iPhone and the battery on a Samsung phone, like after the phone is old enough, and I imagine this is old enough because this is an iPhone 7, that's a limitation of lithium-ion battery technology, and it has nothing to do with you buying an Apple versus a Samsung versus an LG versus a Motorola. Grant, maybe if you buy some phone for $40, it's going to have crappier battery technology if it's a smartphone, but for the most part, every major cell phone manufacturer, you're going to have a battery that dies after, if you're a heavy user, you'll notice degradation after about like a year. If you're a normal user, 2.5 years. This is going to happen, to be clear, across every brand. Now, the question is, what cell phone manufacturers make it easy for you to replace the battery versus difficult? And as you'll see, as time goes on, they've all made it difficult. So again, like the trend started with Apple, but then it spread to everybody.
Party opinion, like an independent opinion, to see if they have anything different to say.
Our survey says of all the high tech we own, smartphones break down more than any other device.
You also use it more than any other
With
device.
the shop, Jason's not doing any better with a nearly new but broken device.
They're still saying it's still going to be my problem, that I still had to be out-of-pocket cost for it because they're claiming that it was the user fault.
Again, like call me a piece of shit. It's possible I'm wrong, but every time I've heard somebody talk like that, they're usually trying to get my attention, to throw me off, so that I give them something for free when they broke it. And like, honestly, good for that shop. I mean, if you have cameras from CBC show up in front, that's going to be intimidating, but don't let that change how you would deal with it. Don't deal with that customer differently than you would deal. Now, again, if you screwed up, if you sold a device that was refurbished, and the person who refurbished it's only been there for 1 week, and that person who's only been there for 1 week, because you caught him on another device not removing all of the glass by the adhesive when they're replacing the screen or something like that, like on an iPhone 4, then by all means, give him another one for free because you've got a reason to doubt it. But that's new in box. That doesn't happen.
This first round, Jason with Samsung and Ricardo with Apple. Both have tough tech problems.
This is not fair. This is not fair because one is a legitimate problem and the other is not.
Our months-long investigation reveals more of you have had Samsung break down. So Apple wins this round.
How the fuck? This makes no sense. If you go to an Apple store with that exact same problem, they are going to do the exact same thing that Samsung did. And they should. I'm not saying they shouldn't. But how are they the winner? We haven't even seen how things go with Apple and the iPhone 7 yet. They haven't even told the other guy to go fuck himself with the iPhone 7. And they're going to. When he shows up to the Apple store with that audio IC problem, they are going to tell him to go fuck himself unless he lies about it and says that he's there for a no service problem, which is technically on the surface a lie, but deep below the truth because he's going to have no service as a result of the phone flexing in the case if he's already at the point of having an audio IC problem because they come from the same flexion.
But it doesn't feel like that for Ricardo, who's leaving the repair shop disappointed.
The best thing that they can do is to just outright replace the phone, give me a new one for the cost of $405.
Why?
See, had he come to my store, I would have told him, and I've told many of my customers this, what you're going to do is you're going to go to the Apple store and you're going to tell them that you're having issues with no service. And he's like, really, am I? I'm like, yeah, I called you earlier. Did you get a call from me? He's like, I didn't get a call from you. I'm like, exactly, no service. And then they're like, you didn't tell him my number yet. I'm like, shut up. But the reason I don't feel bad telling customers this is the exact same thing that causes no audio will cause them no service. Your issue is that you purchased a phone where the chips are coming off of the board as a result of it going like this. Are you going to pay $400 because the chip on this section was doing it rather than the chip on this section? Like, no, that's bullshit. And this is something that probably people who've come to my shop know. We give this advice.
Is it so hard to fix our phones? Apple told them the same thing, forced to replace instead of repair.
That is something that kind of sucks as a pattern as a whole. Like if you look at consumer electronics, is that they're making them less and less repairable at home. You're seeing people talk about it, but nobody's taking action.
This actually isn't okay. Here's the thing. So he's half and half right there. So yes, these electronics are you're less able to repair them at home, but at the same time, you can actually buy the audio IC for that iPhone. It's that you can buy that chip, and if you wanted to, you could fix that issue at home. If you had a hot air rework station and you had a microscope and you had some jumper, 48 or 50 gauge jumper wire to do the audio IC jumper that Jessa does. Maybe she uses 46 gauge. I'm not exactly sure now. If you had that in a microscope, you could do this at home. It's not Apple's fault that you don't have the equipment to do this at home. There are many Apple repairs where Apple goes out of their way to ensure that you cannot buy the chip if it dies, but that's not the case here. That being said, we shouldn't even be having a discussion as to whether or not this is a repair you could do at home, because this shouldn't happen. If you have a $150 Motorola phone, you're not going to have this fault that you had when you bought a $750 iPhone. It's a fault because of the manufacturer that they should cover. But he is technically correct. Most people are not going to be able to fix this at home, but to be clear, that's as a result of technology moving forward with time. That's not because in this instant, Apple said, I don't want people fixing their own audio IC at home. It is fairly easy to get a hold of that chip. You can even buy it on store.rossmangroup.com from time to time. Hint, hint, cough, cough, shill, shill.
Apple to come on camera to talk about Ricardo's experience and our survey results, but
that'll never happen.
Decline.
They do tell us they have a new repair program that's making it easier to get phones fixed.
As for Samsung, they say they're going to look into Jason's situation and tell us they believe their Galaxy products are some of the industry's most durable.
I don't know if they're the industry's most durable, but at the same time, yeah, Samsung didn't cave. They didn't say,
"Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I noticed that you're a major news organization, so even though that person has a story that makes no sense, we're going to replace it and set a precedent that when people drop it, that we'll give them a new one for free. I'm sorry."
You know, Samsung had a backbone there.
Many of you tell us electronic devices are generally tough to fix or cost too much to repair. That's why we're heading all the way to the border itself to find out why.
Here we are in these COVID times. Yep. An American, a Canadian, we can talk. But not
that is some genuine honor system border right there. Let me just say that.
in each other's country. Yeah.
Keeping to our own sides. But Gay Gordon Byrne is always on the side of consumers. She's the head of an American movement to fight for better rights.
Amazingly enough, repairs are now roughly 50% or more of the cost to replace the device.
And in her words, that means it's time for a rebellion to get big tech companies to be more responsible.
How will you know if you've won this fight?
When we get a law passed.
And what's that law look like?
It'll be a law that says, in order to do business in our state or in our province, you, Mr. Manufacturer, must provide fair and reasonable price access to parts, tools, diagrams, manuals, and the software.
When it comes to slow, buggy phones, sometimes the issue is that operating system. It's the software behind it.
Yep.
And the manufacturer just won't update it anymore. What is that doing for consumers?
Well, it's obsoleting the equipment before it's physically obsolete. It's a tactic. We're getting to the point
this
where
is a problem with Android way more than Apple.
And we're winding up getting into a position where we can't keep them going. We literally have to go buy new ones and throw away the old ones because we're not allowed, either by design or by policy, to fix them.
Time for round two, laptops. Two of Canada's top-selling brands, it's HP versus Acer.
They're both horrible. To me, that's a distinction without a difference. HP and Acer make genuinely horrible products. HP had some of the ProBook series a while back that you could pit that up against the older Dell Latitudes or the older ThinkPads, but 99% of the Acer and HP products are just they're in general they're horrible.
You're right, it's definitely stressful.
Back at our repair clinic with pros Ryan, Paul, and Alvin, Melchior is desperate for a fix.
How's your laptop?
Finicky.
Finicky?
The USB ports, all four, will work sometimes. They don't work other times.
Oh, God.
And the battery doesn't hold the charge anymore.
This is what would have scared the piss out of me with the original CBC News piece. So what I did in the original piece, and a lot of people ate me up for saying that piece was so biased, they essentially came to me and they said, we want to do a piece on how Apple is bad with upgrades or something. And I said, that's going to be boring. It's also biased. Well, just find a machine that's broken. Bring it to Apple, bring it to me. See what Apple says, see what I say. And I said, and I quote, and the piece will write itself. And thank God that they brought me some easy, basic shit like Apple missing pin 1 of the display connector. That does happen. And it's like usually when people try to replace their own screen or do some sort of internal maintenance and screw it up. But it's absolutely hysterical that Apple doesn't know to look for that. But had they brought me something like this, I feel bad for this tech. I really do. You know, my USB ports randomly don't work. What does that mean? Does that mean that your PCH is dying? Does that mean that your CPU that has the PCH integrated it into the case of Ultrabooks are dying? Does that mean that that there's some sort of random microfracture in the motherboard that you're not going to see without some sort of $140,000 Nordson 3D X-ray machine? Like, I got off lucky. I feel bad for the tech here because, again, this is really just a luck of the draw thing as to whether or not you're going to get a problem that's easy, and that's a problem that's going to suck. That's going to suck.
Melchior's dad only watched YouTube on this Acer laptop, so it's been barely used.
That is not true whatsoever. If you have a low-end laptop and you watch YouTube on it, you are going to be using the CPU and the GPU, which is actually more than just about anything else you could do. Again, browsing Facebook is not going to be as intensive. Writing documents is not going to be as intensive. Pretty much the only things that you're going to do on that laptop that are going to be more intensive would be if you are playing games on it, you know, doing folding at home on it or something, or actually just running Prime 95 for fun. So using YouTube is going to use the machine. Again, especially if it's a low-end machine, especially if you're watching the 4K videos.
It's not working at all? Like it won't turn on?
This really just does sound like customer stuff. And to be clear, if a customer says, I didn't use it much, I just use YouTube, that's totally fine. I expect the customer to not know all this stuff. It's not their job to know all this stuff. They're the customer. That's why they're here. Don't know condescension. It's just I feel it's weird hearing that from CBC.
On or what?
Sometimes it does work, sometimes it doesn't.
Joanna's come to us with her HP laptop, a crucial but failing tool for her family of 6.
So having a laptop must be important for you, homework and everything else.
I don't have any more laptops. Kids are using my iPhone.
Why not just replace it?
Well, my daughter is hearing impaired and all the expenses basically ate the budget. And with a flood some years back, everything that we saved went out.
Because of all these expenses of which?
Yes, it all adds up.
So costly. It's either a new laptop or hearing aids for her daughter.
Does that have a Vista sticker on it?
It's really important to this family to try to get it running again. Okay. Problems with the battery, problems with the display. You up for taking a look? Sure.
Joanna and Melchior say their laptops are both 10 years old, and our research shows most Canadians keep their laptops between 3 and 5 years.
Brought this computer in. Everything boots fine. The issues are the battery.
Ryan, one of our tech pros, tells Melchior he can buy a new battery and check Acer's software updates to see if that might fix it, but no guarantees.
Of course no guarantees. It's not going to be software.
And their fix? They'll give him a discount if he buys a new computer.
Okay, to be clear, again, I'm not trying to be biased, pro-Apple or whatever, but any manufacturer, any repair shop that you go to and say USB randomly works and randomly doesn't, if they don't see liquid damage on that board, if they don't see a chip that's specifically blown up on that board, if they don't see an obvious piece of some sort of conductive dust inside the port, and you're saying it's all the ports, not one, so it's not even like a connection issue with soldering with that one, they are going to say mea culpa without a $140,000 X-ray machine. I have no idea what it is. And randomly occurring issues are going to be some of the most difficult to solve because even if you think it's working, like you're testing it and it's working, well, he says it's random. So that means that you could test it for 2 hours, but maybe 4 hours in it stops working. And like, how do you reasonably work on that? So one of the things, we don't work on many randomly occurring issues unless it's obvious. So let's say it's an 820-3332 board where we know U8900 comes desoldered from it. It is obvious. It's randomly turning off like the 820-2850 board with the C9560 issue where the GPU buffer is not being powered or the VRAM is not being powered properly. We know that to be an issue because of the C7771 issue on the 820-2330. So then we can work on like 99% of the things, unless it's a very, very obvious problem or a very, very obvious issue that you can either physically see or you know that electronic circuit to be faulty for whatever specific reason. If it's a randomly occurring issue, like, good luck. With any honestly, even with independent repair, good luck. They're probably not going to have a great answer for you other than I can swap out everything in here. But if you're saying it's a randomly occurring thing, And it's like randomly occurring USB issue. I mean, that could be virtually anything. That's one of those things that makes my skin crawl, because it could be virtually any pathway in the board, any microfracture in the board that you can't see without an X-ray machine, any solder ball under any chip that it could be bad. It's ugh.
Well, let's see if I can see what's going on.
But he's not giving up on Joanna's HP laptop, and her family needs it.
Do you have any ideas with this?
What's up with it?
Round 2 is wrapping up. Joanna with HP and Melchior with Acer, both with busted laptops. When it comes to those two brands, our analysis says Canadians have experienced more breakdowns with HP over the last 5 years.
I figured they would have been equally shitty.
They won't come on camera, but in a statement say to us they disagree with our findings. They point to their own research, which suggests some of their newest laptops have the lowest failure rates.
We have investigated ourselves and found no wrongdoing.
They also say they care about sustainability.
You're right. When it first starts up, you can see the HP logo. Very, very dim. Very, very dim. And then it goes dead.
HP may have lost the face-off with Acer, but our techs haven't given up the battle with Joanna's laptop.
Nope.
Back with our
I feel bad for this
squad,
guy.
Ryan's struggling.
He's not a bad tech.
Suddenly, catches a break.
This is your computer, and it seems to be working.
Got it right?
Joanna is heading home, working computer in hand.
Wow.
No guarantee, though, it'll last. And when we tell HP about her issues, they promise to send her a new laptop. She's happy, but survey says 8 out of 10 of us
What did he do? What was the problem? What was wrong?
have devices at home sitting around unused because they're broken, outdated, or obsolete.
They are trying to churn these things out at a very low price point, and then
We're not going to find out what was wrong with that. So that probably just randomly started working again out of the blue. Or the internal screen doesn't work. She needs to use it with an external monitor. He can't fix it on the spot because fuck if he has every single screen in his little suitcase for a 10-year-old laptop when all these machines use different screens. I feel bad for him because he didn't get an easy one. I got an easy one. And again, it's not because HP was they were biased or any CBC was biased. It was just the luck of the effing draw that I got the easiest problem. I easily could have got some like USB randomly doesn't work or PM Sleep S4L is missing. And then I would look like a moron. And
when something does break, it's hard to get into the device just to be able to fix it.
Are you saying that they're basically building it as cheaply as possible, and as a result, it's really shortening the lifespan?
Absolutely, yes.
It's time for
I agree to an
round
extent
3,
there.
Tablets. Apple versus everyone else. Stacked this way because Apple dominates the market. Where we're going now, there's no big repair clinic. We're north, way north, to hear about tech troubles and tablets.
We don't have IT techs. I have to travel 100 kilometers to Yellowknife.
We're in the Northwest Territories, one of the toughest spots to get hands-on help for devices.
My 3-year-old grandson and my 9-year-old, they're fighting for this iPad, so they eventually fought over it and they dropped it.
Marjorie Black has an Apple iPad, Canada's top-selling tablet. She's driven 90 minutes from Bechico to see if Keegan Payne can fix it at his Yellowknife shop.
It should take about an hour and a half.
Marjorie needs the repair. Her grandkids cracked her screen and she can't afford to replace the tablet.
Marjorie doesn't care about, the fanciest, newest features. And a lot of people don't. They just want the device they own to work.
As she's waiting to find out what happens, time for another ranking. In the battle between Apple and every other tablet, when we crunch the numbers, iPads win. But Marjorie sure doesn't feel like a winner. And sorry to tell tablet owners, compared to all other devices, experts tell us tablets are the toughest to repair. They say you might want to save your money.
The biggest problem with tablets, and the reason Mr. Clinton's screaming in the background, is that you need to remove the screen and unadhese it in order to get into it. So with a laptop, I can unscrew the bottom of it, get an idea of what I'm about to tell them, Mr. Clinton, okay? And you can remove the bottom cover fairly easily and get into it. So I can do something like offer a free estimate on what it would take to fix your laptop, because I can get into it fairly easily. There's not a high cost of getting into it other than the cost of my time. With these new tablets, with some of the older ones, all the old cheap ones, you could just pop off the back case like this, just using your fingernails, and you're in. With a lot of the new ones, the screen is sealed on top of it, so you need to remove the screen in order to get into it. Now, the screens on some of these newer tablets are bonded to the LCD, so the screen itself could cost $200 or $300 or $400, and there is a chance of breaking it. Now, granted, there are people out there that are going to say, I'm the best in the world at this, I would never break a screen. Brr, 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 brr. Man, big dick energy, yeah. Fuck you. You've broken the screens too, you prick. So it's difficult to get into it in general. And this is going to result in, I'm going to risk breaking a $400 thing that I'm now accountable for to offer you a free estimate. Like, you see where that becomes difficult. So it becomes more difficult to offer economically viable repair service to them just for the sole fact of how they choose to put it together. Again, if you put it together where the screen is bonded to the housing, but it opens from the other side, then you can get in there. You can do, it's a lot easier to do an estimate than it is here, where you're trying your best to not break this $400 thing, and you're sweating as you do it just to get into the device.
In Yellowknife, Keegan's done as much as he can.
Unfortunately, there wasn't much I could do.
I tried, but now it is goes to the garbage.
So Marjorie is going to have to trash it.
Now, I'm curious why. Is it because this really does look like a basic you cracked the screen. So is it that the casing is so bent that he can't fit a new screen in? Is that the case? Is there a board level issue with it? What's going on with it that caused that to not be repairable? Let's see if they actually give a halfway decent explanation. Again, sometimes there's no explanation. It's just, I don't know. But what happened to it that caused that tablet to not be repairable? I'm curious to see if we even get that far here.
Adding to more than 750,000 tons of e-waste in Canada a year. When we tell Apple about Marjorie, they say they care about the environment and aim to make all
the fuck you do
all their devices from recycled or renewable materials.
They should stand by their product.
They should think of their consumers.
It's a huge fight.
We're not done yet. There's one brand that...
Okay, so we don't ever get to find out why that iPad was not repairable. Like what? Did you not have the screen in stock? Is there a blown backlight filter? Is it boot looping? Anything? Come on. This is a blue balling video.
Tops our breakdown list on your marketplace.
I feel blue balled.
We're taking the tech giants to task in a one-of-a-kind national survey to see which brands you say break down the most.
Oh, a tablet?
Yes.
Yeah, it's of no use
the
to you
United
now.
States on the
We
screen.
charge for about 2 seconds, so we try to wiggle it a bit,
Right?
and it just died.
It shouldn't die after 2 years.
Yeah.
At our expert repair clinic, the techies, Ryan, Paul, and Alvin, certainly see what we hear from you. Troubleshooting tech is tough.
Here's where you want to make sure we haven't damaged anything, right?
Just like brain surgery.
Yeah, just like brain surgery,
Yeah.
right?
This American consumer advocate says making repairs so challenging is just how the tech giants generally operate.
It's a huge fight. It's a huge fight.
Is it acceptable?
Well, it would be acceptable if people dropped stuff and then they got them fixed. Or if the batteries ran out and then they could get the batteries replaced, because accidents happen, right? But when you can't get them fixed, that's a real problem.
And that brings us to an issue we hear about again and again in our survey.
Batteries are an issue we hear about a lot.
I can't say I'm surprised.
Echoed in our repair clinic.
It's battery. Batteries.
Battery. This is my giant iPad Pro. Doesn't hold a battery charge, even when it's plugged in.
And that's the thing with a lot of these devices. It really wouldn't be a lot of work to make the battery easier to replace. Again, if the device were not sealed through the screen and you were able to get access to it without having to deal with risking breaking a $300 or $400 screen to get into it, replacing the battery would be simple. And a lot of places are going to work that into their pricing. You know, people go, "Why is a battery that expensive?" If you have a device that is completely glued and adheres together, and in the process of opening it, one of the most expensive parts in that device has a risk of breaking while you're getting into it, that is going to be factored into the price of fixing it.
Batteries, they just, like, there's some of them when they get below 50%, they'll just stop working.
Our survey says
That's usually once the device is a bit old, like usually 1.5 years to 2 years of constant use, not immediately.
4 devices has a battery issue.
So the battery life starts to slow down. It won't hold a charge for as long as it used to.
And when it comes to smartphones, it's 1 in 3. Plus, just as many smartphones are also slowing down. Experts tell us that's often caused by a battery problem.
It's almost like they build the batteries not to last. That's what it feels like.
Let's talk about batteries.
Okay, let's go over that. It's almost like they build a battery not to last. No. That is a limitation of lithium-ion battery technology. And that doesn't matter if it's Apple, Samsung, LG, Motorola, Acer, HP. They are not evilly engineering the battery to not last. I dislike Apple intensely as a company, but it's not Apple building the battery to not last. That is a limitation of the technology. The reason that companies like QuantumScape mooned, I feel bad for that fucker on Yahoo Finance, by the way, that said, help, I bought it at 132, what do I do? You poor bastard. But the reason that there is such a rush with new battery technologies and companies is because lithium-ion technology is kind of shit. Yeah, as you could see, one of the top voted comments on this particular video says they almost feel like they make the battery not to last. That's not how lithium-ion works. And someone said, yeah, start using AA batteries. Let the consumer beg to go back to lithium-ion. Maybe I'm old. I'm 32. I remember the old days back when I would have a product with AA I'd have 2 AA batteries and a Game Boy, and usually the 6-8 hours of gameplay goes by, and I have to replace them with new ones that you actually had to buy, not charge, buy. Now, granted, one could say back in those days, it was just taking off a cover, so it's easy to replace the battery. And again, I wish that were the case with a lot of these products, but I just want to, there's no conspiracy among the manufacturer for the battery to die sooner. There absolutely is a push towards the design where the battery is sealed in the case, making it difficult for you to remove, so you might as well just get a new one, right? You don't want to have to unglue a screen, deal with potential broken glass, pry open it. No, just get it. By all means, that is something that you could blame the manufacturer for, but it's not the battery technology.
You want to make repair the incident that takes you back to the store. They don't want you fixing something and replacing the battery and getting another 2 years of life out of it. They want you to go back to the store and buy a new one.
This is 100% true. I 100% agree with that. But at the same time, just to keep in mind, none of these companies are using lithium-ion on purpose because it's a shitty technology. It's for where we are in 2021. That's the best that they have available, so that's the reason they're using it.
It's a business model.
What's it been like for you carrying out this battle?
Take $28 trillion in market cap and say, we're going to fight them, and then wonder why it's hard.
Yeah.
And
robust conversations.
Speaking of fights, remember Ricardo? He still wants to fix his iPhone 7 because he wants to do his part for the environment. But he's facing an uphill battle.
Audio I see. Take it to
CBC. So I'm back from the Apple store.
We get this surprise message from him. He's looking into Quebec's warranty laws and finds out if a product doesn't last as long as another just like it, the manufacturer might have to repair it free, replace it, or refund it.
It's when I spoke about the consumer protection laws here in Quebec that the things seem to take another speed or another protocol.
When it comes to consumer protection laws across Canada, experts tell us Quebec's are the strongest, and Ricardo plans to fight for his rights. He makes a lot of calls like this and had to learn about the law on his own. Makes you wonder if companies want...
All he would have had to do if he came into our store is just walk out of there with the magic words that say when he goes to Apple, I'm getting no service, but it's intermittent.
Consumers to know their rights for replacements.
They're sneaky, if we don't know our rights, then they don't tell us that we're entitled to have a replacement phone at no charge. They would have charged me $400.
In the end, Ricardo prevails. Apple replaces his phone. But Ricardo might not have been able to get a replacement if he lived outside of Quebec, because the laws aren't the same.
I hope these laws become a standard in all of Canada. I'm grateful that they exist in Quebec.
Time for the great reveal. Which brand breaks down most?
I wish I'd done my research before.
And will the tech giants talk? Do you have a story you think Marketplace should investigate next? Tell us all about it on email, Twitter, and Facebook. It's the people versus the tech giants. We ask more than 3,000 Canadians about their tech repair nightmares. Time to unmask the device and brand our analysis shows has broken down the most. That title goes to LG smartphones.
Well, I used it for maybe about 2 months.
And Lori Hood in Canmore, Alberta, is the not-so-proud owner of one of them.
LG used to have a lot of issues back in the day with chips that would have to be reballed on the board that would result in the phone boot looping.
Started using the phone and it wasn't holding a charge very well.
Her smartphone came with problems. The battery wasn't charging, the phone overheating, and then it cracked.
Oh, come on. No. Oh, God. You're triggering me again. This is back to the beginning. No.
But the certified repair shop says if she wants it fixed, she has to pay.
No. These are not every phone is a unit pack power battery. I don't know if this happened as a result of the Samsung Note 7 thing where we actually had footage of phones, going on fire. That virtually never happens. Not every phone is a unit pack power battery. That's not a thing that happens on a regular basis. That is a very, 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 very rare thing. And this whole my phone wasn't working right and then it cracked on its own. It's just, give me the truth. Just give me the truth. I will work with you. I am a very sympathetic person, and I often make business decisions that are very bad for me because I wind up feeling bad for someone else, and it's the reason that I still live in the same apartment 10 and a half years after. Anyway, but that's for a different video. But you just give me the real story, because when I hear this, my phone wasn't holding a charge properly and then it just cracked, I know you're not telling me the full story. I have no sympathy for you, and I don't want to hear it when you're mad at me for not giving you what you want, because I can't do that when someone's not being honest. If I'm going to lose money, to be nice to you, it better be because you're telling me the truth.
I wish I'd done my research before. I didn't. I just bought the phone, and I'm not blaming myself, but that's really a drag. $1,300 for a phone is ridiculous.
In the end, after months of fighting, Lori says LG covers the repair.
It took me 4 months, and I would say
LG cucked out.
I think it would be fair to say about 20 hours of emails and on the phone.
We tell LG about Lori's experience, and they say they're going to look into it. And when we tell them about their place on our survey, they say they stand behind the quality of their devices.
And their devices are not particularly amazing quality. Any phone tech that was around for the older days with the G series that would have the boot looping issues knows that. But this whole, again, it's just mobile repair people, tell me if I'm being too triggered here, but this hole that cracked on its own thing, it just makes the hairs on my arm just stand up every time I hear it.
Claim they don't limit parts for phone repairs. They say they want to make it easier for customers.
That's bullshit.
To get their phones fixed.
So two things can be true at the same time. LG is not doing anything to make it easier to get their phones fixed. I've actually did a piece on this a year ago, and I was trying to get some sort of service through LG. Their fucking website doesn't even work, much less not making parts available. A bunch of their own website doesn't even work, and there are parts to it that are not available, even after the phone's been out for 6 months to a year. So they're not, in my experience, and again, I don't do phone repair for a living, so please do correct me if you're someone who does. I haven't seen them be much better than almost any other manufacturer when it comes to making parts available. Two things can be true at the same time. LG can be bullshitting you, and that customer can be bullshitting you when they say, oh, it wasn't holding a charge, and then it got warm, and then it cracked. You know, when people talk like that and they raise it at the end of the sentence, that totally means your customer is telling the truth. They would never lie and have their voice go up at the end of the sentence. That's not a total giveaway that you're bullshitting me.
After a long day, our repair clinic is winding down. In the end, our technicians looked at more than 15 devices. Only 2 go home repaired.
To be fair, more of those could have been repaired if they were given time. They didn't. You're not going to be able to show up and have every part to every single device right there. That's not because the techs are bad, and it's not even necessarily so much the industry. If you tell me we're going to bring you some random devices with random problems that may be 10 or 15 years old, let's see what you can do to fix them, you're probably going to leave with maybe 0 out of 15 repaired. I'd have to order parts. I'd have to deal with it. And one of the reasons that my shop does not service everything is because I found that consumers, they expect Amazon Prime turnaround times for everything, even repair services. So if you expect that Amazon Prime 2 to 3 or 2 to 4 day turnaround time, and I'm not able to offer that, then I'm not going to take the device in, have to wait a week or two just to get parts, just to give you an estimate, to give you a price, and then another week or two to get parts and to fix it, because that's going to lead to 1-star reviews and an aggravated customer. Honestly, those techs were really good sports, but just, yeah, if you bring people random 10-year-old devices and you say you have the afternoon to fix them, don't be surprised if you walk away with virtually none of them fixed. You're going to have to order some parts just to be able to do a proper estimate, just to be able to tell, you know, is it the trackpad or the keyboard? Is it the screen or the screen cable? This is going to require that you actually have parts in stock, and it's going to be something that is a challenge. You can't expect that to happen in an afternoon.
Time to share our findings with the Consumer Technology Association.
The CTA is who Charlie Brown was lobbying on behalf in Washington, and it's also who someone in Maine who was just BSing themselves the entire way, in my opinion, had a lobbyist for with regards to the right to repair bill. So CTA does so much lobbying, they could afford to have a separate lobbyist in Seattle and another one in Augusta, Maine, even though it was within 1 day of each other. They have enough money to have lobbyists working full-time to say shit like TikTok will get installed on your phone if you give independents the ability to fix them, and all sorts of bullshit like that. So take anything you hear from a CTA with a grain of salt.
They represent a lot of the tech companies, and for weeks we've been asking for an interview.
Please leave a message after the tone.
Yeah.
There are some experts who are actually saying this is all deliberate, that device makers are churning out devices and making them cheaply so that consumers are essentially forced to buy new rather than being able to repair or keep them for a longer period of time.
They never call us back.
And they never will, because CTA with Charlie Brown, as you could just look up my video on my channel, Charlie Brown, A Robust Conversation. You'll find a bunch of videos on this. They're about those conversations behind closed doors where they're probably giving money to politicians. They're not about having real and honest conversations. They're incapable of real and honest conversations. It's just look through my channel. You'll find it. It's some good stuff.
Please try your call again later. Thank you.
Okay, not getting any answers there either.
But consumers want answers. Many are tired of what they see as the runaround.
I would repair this myself if I could, if I had the tools. I've been...
And that's the thing. So he had the audio IC issue, right? He said, I'd repair it myself if I had the tools. Just to be clear, there's nothing Apple is doing to keep you from fixing the audio IC on that particular phone. The Pentalobe screwdriver is available for a few dollars. You can buy a hot air rework station, store.rossfromgroup.com, discount code 19PLD73 gets you an AT862 for some percent off. You can buy an audio IC also on store.rossfromgroup.com and several other websites. There are other websites that sell them. Everything that is necessary to fix that phone can be purchased for under, let's see, if you want, you're going to want a microscope for it. So if you want a shitty microscope, maybe like $500, a good microscope, like a shitty microscope with the hot air station and everything, like the SE 400 from Amscope, that with the hot air station and the chip, it's probably like $450, $475, $500, and if you want a nice microscope, like $700 or $800, you could buy that if you have the tools. But however, the chances of you fixing an audio IC problem on your own, if you don't have experience working on other devices, you are almost guaranteed to destroy that phone. You're guaranteed to destroy the baseband, destroy its ability to have service. Other components are going to go flying. But there's nothing specifically that Apple is doing there where they're keeping you from being able to do the audio IC. Okay, maybe hiding the schematics. Hiding the schematics is a scumbag move, but they're not making the part unavailable, because sometimes Apple ensures that the part that is necessary to do the repair is unavailable in the marketplace, and they do that. They do that with chips for the modern devices, with the CD3217 and the ISL 9240. In his particular case, you can actually buy the chip to do the job, even if you can't get the schematic or the board view. So Apple are kind of being shitbags there for the fact that they are not fixing an issue that's a known manufacturing issue under warranty, and they're being assholes for the fact that the phone has a problem where it does this, where the board is flexing inside the case, and they will fix it if you have a baseband issue. They will not fix it if you have an audio IC issue. But you could 100% purchase the tools necessary to do that job and do that job on your kitchen table.
Sending more emails and communications.
And after months of fighting, Jason tells Samsung he's been talking to us.
I did finally receive a phone call.
And
they cucked out.
Phone fixed, no charge.
It's repaired, so yeah.
Again, like if he had just told the truth, that's something. If he had told the truth, I would have been 100% for him getting something discounted or free, because Samsung's profit margin on that phone is crazy. The reason that I'm angry at Samsung for cucking out is because he had a phony baloney story. The mannerisms that he had at the beginning of the video were the mannerisms of a customer that is not being truthful. That story does not line up at all. Like, my phone was booting really slow, and then like it was warm, and now it cracked on. It's like none of that makes any sense. And they did that whole thing where, well, we're going to tell the media on you. And they're like,
oh, I'm sorry, sir. We don't want CBC News to think we don't care about our customers, so we'll give you a new one even though you broke it.
Hey.
But as for how all this played out,
I think they should stand behind their policies. I think they should think of their consumers.
What's your message to the manufacturers out there?
If they are going to charge the amounts they're charging, which I feel are exorbitant in the first place, they should stand by their product and treat their customers better. You know?
Triggered.
Inside Canada's hospitals.
All right, so that's about that. So you let me know what you think. These are my thoughts on this piece. These are my thoughts on all the issues that came up over. Again, there's truth to the piece. There is truth to what the people are saying. There's truth to what Gay Gordon Byrne is saying. Sometimes I may disagree a little bit on the smaller, finer details, but the general narrative that is being played out here is that devices have become more and more difficult to repair. The manufacturers are not exactly making it easier, and they also don't care if it's becoming more difficult to fix them, because that allows them to sell you a new one. And I believe that is the case, even if I disagree with some of the finer points here. Like when someone says that, maybe it's just because I've had customers, because I hate having to be put in that situation where someone says, yeah, so I had this on the couch and I was watching YouTube on it and the screen just cracked on its own. It's just, I know that I'm in for a 30 or 45 minute arguing match with the customer there. I have to deal with all the de-escalation, and I have to look at it, really go, all right, let's take this to the back. Let's take a look at it for you. And I have to put on this whole entire show to seem like, when in reality, you know what you did to it. You're going to put me through this crap where I have to pretend that I'm really looking into it when I know what you did to it. Couldn't we just fast forward past this entire situation? Maybe it's some sort of Asperger's thing or something. I'm not good at dealing with those long drawn out exchanges. I'd really just much rather have I screwed up. Oh, yeah, sorry about that, man. Here's I'll give you one time. I'll lose money on it. I feel bad for you, and my staff looks at me like I'm a moron. We move on. That person recommends me to all their friends. I can do that. I can't do the whole so it was on the desk, and then it cracked on its own, like magic, telekinesis. I just can't. I get intensely triggered by that, and probably a bunch of people who do customer service in this industry do. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments down below. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. I will see you all in the next video. Bye now.